One of my 25-year-old employees came to me one day. She sat down in my office and said, "I'm ready to be promoted." I know I'm not really good at my job, but I'm pretty good, and that's all I ever really wanted to be. So I was hoping you could coach me on how to get the next job where I have a better title and more money. And it was at that moment that I realized I'd better figure out how to lead this next generation that by 2020 is going to represent 35% of the workforce. And at the same time, at the end of my conversation, I think my millennial employee realized that perhaps her expectations didn't line up with the other generations where we were working. Now, the millennials get all the press, but because people are working longer and retiring later, great leaders need to figure out how to lead all four generations in the workplace. How do you recruit? How do you motivate, project manage, and train all four different generations? There are a lot of gray areas when it comes to great leadership, and that's why we're calling our book Gray Goldfish. Now, I'd like to illustrate a couple of examples for you as to how the different generations are different, and the first one is going to come with a little bit of homework. When you leave here today, I want you to find a baby boomer's office. And I bet you when you go in there, you will see plaques and certificates proudly displayed on the desk, on the walls, on the bookshelves. Now, first of all, millennials don't even have bookshelves. But baby boomers do. And the reason they do is they want to have a place to display those plaques that represent all the major milestones in their careers up to this point. That's very important. I've seen baby boomers proudly display Microsoft certificates, classes they took from Microsoft that are from the early 1990s. Guys, Windows didn't even exist in the early 1990s. But they frame those certificates because they represent important steps in their careers. Now, for younger generations who maybe want to skip a step or two on the way to promotion, this sort of, taking each step one at a time seems crazy. And in fact, I bet you that there are members of the audience right now from Generation X looking at their watches and thinking, hey, you know what, if these guys finish up a little bit early, maybe I can get home sooner than I thought I could. Generation X has had two major things happen in their lifetime that caused a distrust of corporate leadership. And that distrust extends to members of their own generation when they're in leadership roles. And then there are the millennials, the trophy kids. If you participated in an event, you got a trophy. And as this picture shows, sometimes the trophies are as big as the participants themselves. Getting those trophies creates high expectations, and those high expectations extend into the workplace. So when millennials were asked, how long do you think you should have to pay your dues at work? 16% said less than a year. Another 51% said between 1 and 2 years. That's a full 2/3 of all millennials who said they expect to pay their dues for less than 2 years. And part of those expectations come from how they were raised. I interviewed a millennial recently. I asked him, did you bring your resume? He said, oh yeah, it should be pretty good. My parents worked on it last night. Now, while that may seem insane that he told me that, he was raised as his parents' friend. His parents have been helping him with school projects his entire life. Why should this be any different? So to be clear, millennials and the rest of the generations bring amazing things to the workplace. They have perspective and creativity and energy, and it's our responsibility to capture and tap into those great attributes so that we can be great leaders. And that's what Great Goldfish is all about. So we're going to share how the generations are different. We're going to share why the generations are different. But more importantly, we're going to tell you what to do and give you examples of what to do with that knowledge. It's not enough to just know folks are different. What do we do with it now? And we're going to have examples from tons of different companies and tons of different industries so that you can use those best practices to become the best leaders that you can possibly be. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to walk away with being an awesome leader for your employees, your peers, and maybe even your boss. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.